For some reason, the developers of Stellaris seem to have an obsession with dragons. Yes, with dragons, because, let's be honest, there are quite a lot of them in the game. You've got your classic Void Drake that came with Leviathans. You've got your Eldrakes that came with Distant Stars. You have the Void Spawn that also came with Distant Stars. The Shard, which came with Ancient Relics, and now with Aquatics, the Sky Dragon. Yes, today we're going to be talking about Here Be Dragons, one of the origins that comes with this species pack. Let's dive right in, because this particular origin has some very interesting mechanics behind it and can be extremely powerful if you play your cards right. Now, Here Be Dragons has a bunch of things going on in the background that the game does not tell you about. Let's quickly walk through its mechanics, shall we? Here Be Dragons does the following. It spawns you in a system of any of your choice. There is no real negative to this. You can pretty much do anything except for any other origin systems. And basically what it does is it spawns a space dragon that roams your home system. The space dragon will protect you if anybody goes to war with you, which makes your capital system extremely strong, especially in the early game. Of course, there are ways around this, but we will get to that. In addition to that, and this is not documented anywhere, within 2 jumps of your capital system, the game will also spawn a liquid metal deposit. This is not documented anywhere, but is actually quite critical to the actual origin. We will get into that later on. Regardless of this, you cannot use the Sky Dragon origin if you are either Fanatic Purifiers, Devouring Swarm, or Determined Exterminator. Basically, all the total war empires that are in the game, and that will go out to kill pretty much anything that is there. Still though, there are a couple things. As you start out here in your system, the dragon will keep on roaming around as you go into the stars and start colonizing, exploring, and what have you not. Still though, after about 9 years of gameplay, something will happen. An event will pop up where you have some options. You can either shoot the dragon, give it a warning shot. If you do this, it will land on your planet, kill 2 pops, and add 2 blockers to your planet, which is not all that great. You can observe the dragon, which basically means that it will land on the ground and then feed. We will get to the feeding shortly. And if you are smart and you have kept 75 influence in your pocket, you will have it land without it killing anything. Now, once it lands, as I said, it will kill a pop if you are an observer, or 2 pops if you didn't do anything, because it won't land in that particular case. Basically, what will happen is it will add a special deposit on your planet. A planetary feature, if you will, called Feeding Dragon. This will also despawn the dragon from your home system, and is potentially a good opportunity for other empires to start invading you. So keep an eye on that. Still though, the Feeding Dragon feature basically does the following. It will generate 5 unity, 10 stability on the planet, but will also have a upkeep cost of 15 food, which can be quite excessive, so make sure you have a lot of food in your pocket. It's really important that you do, because the additional unity as well as the stability modifier will really boost your economy as well as your tradition growth, which is actually something you're going to need later on in this particular origin. 15 years later, the dragon will depart, it will respawn in your system, the deposit will remove itself from the planet, and you're back where you belong. Now, from that moment onward, the clock starts ticking, because if you manage to get 2 society and 2 engineering research items done before the year 50, a event will pop up. Now, I do hope that you will get these techs between, 30 years of gameplay, because if you don't, something's really wrong. But still though, you have 2 options for special projects. One of them is remote scanning the dragon. If you do this, it remote scans the dragon. You assign a scientist to it, and you'll get a bunch of society research. Pretty darn decent, pretty darn good. If you're feeling lucky though, if you really want to swing that one-armed bandit, then you could try to go and get a specimen from the dragon. However, if you do this and you assign a researcher to it, there is a 30% chance that the dragon will in fact kill your scientist and the ship attached. Now after that you can try again, but then there is a 75% chance that it will try to kill your things and once again kill 2 pops and add 2 blockers. Now if you prepared the feeding grounds beforehand and spent that 75 influence at the start of the story, then this drops down to 25%. So that's actually kind of useful to a certain degree. But yeah, that's basically an option that you can have there if you want to, spin the wheel. There's also a 55% chance that it fails, and once again, we go back to the 75% chance, yada yada yada, from the start of the game. There's a 50% chance that you can succeed, and then you will get the next armor tech in your list, and this can go all the way up to neutronium armor. Dragon armor is not part of this. Ironically enough, there is really no way for you to get dragon armor without directly attacking the dragon, but we will get to that in a little bit. Regardless of things, I would not recommend trying to get a specimen from the dragon itself. I would recommend you to do a remote scan on the dragon. So yeah, please keep that in mind. Still though, the story continues after all of this stuff. Once you've made contact with 70% of all the species within the galaxy, which means that a smaller galaxy for this particular origin gives you a massive advantage, you will get the option to do a first contact event with the dragon itself. You go through all of this, and if you have not gotten to a certain level, it will tell you it's not time yet for the discussion it wants to have. And this is kind of curious, because if you own the Utopia expansion, you will be able to gate yourself ahead a little bit quicker. Because there are a couple of gateways here for it to start talking to you directly to get the final reward of this particular origin. If you have Utopia, and you have finished one of the ascension paths all the way to, say, Transcendent, the final part of the biologicals, or if you've turned yourself synthetic, the dragon will contact you and allow you to build special hatcheries on space stations where you can hatch more dragons, 10 of them in total, to fight with the dragon, who will also join your fleets directly to fight on your side. Now, if you don't have Utopia, you will need 6 Ascension perks finished. So keep that in mind. If you have Utopia as an expansion, you will have a massive advantage here. Still though, please keep this in mind. Try to go for the fast Ascension slots if you are running with this particular origin. Also, if you're running with a smaller galaxy, you will have a bigger advantage here. And also keeping your empire relatively small to keep your unity growth up and running so that you can get through your traditions relatively quickly is a very good idea. Now, let's take a quick look at these hatcheries and the dragons themselves. Now, the dragon itself has 150,000 hull points, over 104,000 armor, but 0 shields. In addition, it does a reasonable amount of damage with about 850 damage per tick. However, its main weapon, which is the Dragon's Breath, is a randomized damage system. So it's very similar to some of the late game lance weapons. Basically, it can do damage from 4,900 all the way up to 12,000, and it has a cooldown of 21 days. It has an 85% accuracy and had range of 150. It has a reduced amount of damage to shields, but armor and hull, it will have massive amounts of damage. So basically, if you are running a fleet in combination with the dragon itself, having something that will crack open shields is probably a very good idea, because it will allow you to rampage through their lines, especially at range. Now, we also need to take a look, of course, at the hatcheries and the items that come out of those hatcheries, which is simply more of these dragons themselves. The hatcheries are rather curious, actually, because they cost a reasonable amount of alloys with a base of 750, and it takes about a year to 2 years to build it. It costs about 10 energy to upkeep it, but that's not where the main cost lies. The main cost lies with the ridiculousness that is just the building cost of some of these drakes that you'll be able to produce. A Sky Dragon will set you back 500 gas, 500 crystals, and 100 living metal. Now you'll understand why living metal is a deposit that is nearby your capital, or at least within 2 jumps, as we discussed at the start of this video, as you will need that resource in order to get these dragons up and running. And you can get 10 of them in total. Now the drakes themselves are just as powerful in terms of firepower as the Big Daddy itself. They're not that strong in terms of armor, but you can in fact merge it with the main drake and essentially have a gigantic stack of firepower roaming around the galaxy and pretty much one-shotting anything that the enemy can field against you, which can be incredibly powerful. Again, if you have a small galaxy, you have Utopia, you've gone down one of the Ascensions perk, you've managed to get first contact with 70% of all the other species in the galaxy, you can get this particular setup extremely quickly and you will be incredibly powerful, nearly unstoppable actually, because you can get those dragons online, all 10 of them, even a couple of them really, and you will be literally unstoppable. From this moment onward, it's just smooth sailing through the galaxy. Let's hope that you didn't unlock the final result too late in the game, where the amount of firepower that the dragons add is negligible, but still it's something that's incredibly useful, especially through mid-game enemies such as the Khan or the Grey Tempest and that sort of thing. They don't necessarily scale all that well versus Fallen Empires, but it's still a nice bonus to have. And of course, from a role-playing perspective, it's nice to have a little hatchery of drakes on the field. Of course, you can always try to supplement this with a hatched dragon, or maybe some Eldrakes. Who knows? Still though, if you're on the other side of the spectrum and you're attacking an empire that has a dragon guarding it, if you kill it, you will have access to the dragon scale armor, very similar to the Void Worm, and you will get the Worm Slayer trait for your admiral who managed to kill it, which is pretty darn nice. Of course, if you are a undead or you are running around with resurrecting armies and stuff like that, then yes, you can resurrect the Drake itself and make an undead version of it to roam your armies on your side. Yes, that is definitely a thing that can happen. So yeah, what do you think? Is this something that you want to play? This is something you want to try out? Because, well, the Sky Dragon is pretty darn powerful, and it can be pretty darn fun to play with, and the script files for it are pretty amusing as well. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you want to see more Stellaris content, make sure that you subscribe for more. Tomorrow we're going to be taking a look at the Ocean Paradise and see what all of that means within the grand scheme of the game. Because yes, it is the other origin that came out with Aquatics, and I'm sure that you are ready to hear more about that one as well. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my patrons as well for making this video possible. And until next time, take good care of yourselves and become a Dragon Daddy.